In my past life, Sophie was adopted by the wealthy Wilson family while I went home with janitors from the Taylor family. The Wilsons' mansion turned out to be a nest of Viper's cold parents. A bullying brother Ethan who eventually drove her out penniless. Meanwhile, my humble life overflowed with warmth until Ethan, the rebellious Wilson heir, fell for this scholarship student scrubbing floors after school. Our Cinderella story ended when my envious sister rammed her car into mine, sending us both back to adoption day at the orphanage. This time, Sophie practically trampled me to hug Mrs. Taylor first. "Mom," she squealed. "I'll be your Sophie." My turn to star in the romance. As she left clutching her new janitor parents, I approached the impeccably dressed Wilsons. The director muttered, "Since when does our most ambitious girl choose rags over riches?" I knew why. Last lifetime, Sophie had claimed the Wilsons' marble foyer only to find Ethan's cruelty, gold-digging bitch. He'd spray-painted her locker, and parental indifference. Their adopted daughter was just a prop. Yet when Ethan noticed me tutoring cafeteria workers' kids during lunch breaks, his sneers softened. "Emma," he'd murmur, watching me mend my third-hand uniform, "you're different." The night he transferred his inheritance to my name during our wedding toast, Sophie's headlights blinded us. Now reborn, she thinks swapping families changes destiny. Poor fool, she'll soon learn real heroines aren't made by circumstance. As the Taylor's rusty pickup disappears, Mrs. Wilson adjusts her diamond brooch. "Welcome home, Emma." Ethan's limited edition AJ's tap impatiently. When our eyes meet, his scoff lacks conviction. This time, I'll weaponize his obsession. Let Sophie enjoy middle-class bliss. I've memorized every Wilson weakness. Their fortune will fund my Ivy League escape. Though watching Golden Boy Ethan unravel might prove entertaining too. After all, every heroine needs her redemption arc. Her tragic backstory would earn her the pity and protection of the wealthy young master, culminating in a fairy tale wedding straight out of a storybook. She smirked at me. "Sis, it's my turn to be the rom-com heroine now. You should taste the hell I've endured." Sophie's prediction came true sooner than expected. Ethan's bullying began earlier this cycle. In the school restroom, male laughter echoed as my head was forced into a sink. Just as oxygen deprivation blurred my vision, Ethan yanked me up by the collar. "Want my family's money?" His smile glittered with malice. "Drink the toilet water. Each sip earns you 100K. Deal?" His lackeys hooped in anticipation. I stared at the boy who'd whispered love poems in my ear during our past life, now radiating pure hatred. Yet Ethan wasn't looking at me. His gaze had shifted to where Sophie knelt scrubbing floors behind us. "Isn't that Sophie? Since when do students clean here?" A lackey sneered. "Her mom's the janitor." Another explained. "She works nights after classes." I saw the exact moment Ethan's contempt melted into fascination. "Stop that," he barked at Sophie. "No one's checking anyway." Sophie straightened, raven hair cascading over her threadbare sweater. "If inspectors find dirt, they'll dock mom's pay. That $100 might be pocket change to you, but it's my family's weekly groceries." Her performance was flawless, the trembling lips, the artfully flushed cheeks. Ethan snatched her scrub brush. "You lot finish this." He draped his designer jacket over her shoulders. "You're taking my car home." As Sophie left wrapped in Ethan's protection, she shot me a triumphant glance over his shoulder. The broken fire exit door slammed shut behind them. "Here." I turned to find Lily extending a clean towel. Our class monitor always wore long sleeves, even in summer. Last cycle, she tried helping Sophie too until Sophie slapped her hand away screaming, "My soulmate." 3 months before graduation, Lily jumped from the chemistry lab window. We'd later learn about her alcoholic father's gambling debts, the human traffickers at their door, the cancer-ridden grandmother she'd been supporting since middle school. At that moment, she stood beside me holding a clean towel. I hesitated before taking it. Without another word, she turned to leave, probably finding nothing to discuss with a privileged Wilson family heiress like me. As her retreating figure neared the cafeteria exit, I suddenly called out, "Lily!" Her footsteps halted, scratching my head awkwardly. I continued, "Since I'm new here, could you show me where the cafeteria is?" The lunch table boasted 4 dishes and soup: braised pork ribs, steamed meat with egg, cola-glazed wings, sautéed baby bok choy, and clamshell melon soup. Typical of the best high school in Riverbend City, the cafeteria food lived up to its reputation. Oops. Ordered too much. I feigned embarrassment. Hate wasting food. You haven't eaten either, right? Let's share. Lily remained silent for several heartbeats before picking up chopsticks. I watched her bony wrists peek from oversized sleeves. Girls like her, unremarkable, uncomplaining, became forgotten weeds in youth's memories, never qualifying as romance novel heroines. This lifetime, I'd save us both. Conic sections are impossible. I dramatically sighed between bites. Lily, you're top of our class. Tutor me? She nearly choked on her braised pork, eyes widening at my audacity. Seizing the moment, I slung an arm around her shoulders. Perfect. I'll pay standard tutoring rates. The next day, I handed her an envelope stuffed with $100 bills, 3 months' allowance from the Wilsons. Her trembling fingers couldn't conceal the life-changing sum. For Ethan, this was pocket money. For Lily, it meant medicine for her grandmother's treatments, escape from her abusive father, and a studio apartment near campus. Returning to the Wilson mansion that evening, I found its marble halls empty. Mr. Wilson attended business dinners. Mrs. Wilson indulged in spa treatments. And Ethan, well, Ethan was currently dining with the Taylor family. Last life. When Ethan's chauffeur dropped me off, the Taylors had invited him inside for their legendary humble family dinner. Cue the cliché, the billionaire heir enchanted by cramped apartments, home-cooked meals, and manufactured warmth. Right now, Sophie and Ethan probably shared watery cabbage soup in that shabby living room, mistaking performance art for genuine affection. I slipped into my Hermes silk robe, cleansed my face with Chanel, and sipped bird's nest soup delivered by the housekeeper. Let them play their little game. Only I knew the Taylor's secret: they'd wanted to adopt a healthy baby boy from the orphanage. Settling for a pretty girl was their backup plan for future wealth. When they saw Ethan's Bentley that first day, dollar signs had lit up their eyes. Their loving parents' act worked perfectly on Ethan, starved for affection despite his gilded cage. Last timeline. When I refused to marry him, Mrs. Taylor locked me in their moldy bathroom while Mr. Taylor beat me bloody with a belt. Sophie thinks she's won the lottery this time. Foolish girl. The Wilson mansion is a gilded prison. The Taylor apartment a roach-infested cage. Survival isn't about escaping hell, it's becoming strong enough to rule it. The following days saw Ethan's malice escalating relentlessly. When I opened my lunchbox prepared by the housekeeper, it overflowed with thumbtacks. Dead spiders crawled out of my facial cleanser and toothpaste tubes. My dresses hung in the closet, each bearing cigarette burn holes. Every time I looked up startled, I'd meet Ethan's vicious smirk. He'd mouth frowny face Emma. You deserve this. Ethan expected tears. Instead, I calmly dumped the thumbtacks, tossed spiders into trash, and folded damaged dresses away. His smile vanished. Let's see how long you can keep pretending, he hissed through clenched teeth. This time, while enduring Ethan's cruelty, I fully embraced the Wilson family privileges. No more attending school by day and doing my adoptive mother's chores at night. A chauffeur drove me everywhere. Housekeepers handled daily needs, leaving me free to focus on studies. Previously, saving for textbooks meant hiding coins from my alcoholic adoptive father. Now, my closet overflowed with designer dresses. My jewelry box held Van Cleef and Arpels pieces, gifts from Mrs. Wilson. Monthly allowances included UN 50,000 cash and UN 100,000 credit card, replenished instantly upon request. Meanwhile, Sophie now lived my former hardships. She slept through classes, exhausted from nightly chores. Homework went undone. Exams remained blank. Where I'd once stabbed myself with compasses to stay awake studying, Sophie, accustomed to pampered life, lacked such desperation. Becoming Ethan's fiancée mattered more than academics to her. Sophie's entire existence revolved around pleasing Ethan. She ignored math lectures to write him love journals, skipped dance rehearsals to ride motorcycles with him. When performance night approached, she staged a perfect melodrama outside practice room, head tilted 45 degrees. Tears glistening but not falling. Right on cue, Ethan appeared. "What happened?" he asked. Sophie collapsed into sobs against his chest. "Emma, she revoked my performance spot. Everyone else gets to dance except me." Ethan's face darkened. "Why?" she said. Sophie bit her quivering lip. "My mom's a janitor. My dad's a security guard. That I can't afford the UN 800 costume, don't belong on stage." "I'll buy it," Ethan snapped. Sophie shook her head with faux dignity. "I can't accept such expensive gifts." "That bitch!" Ethan exploded. "How dare she?" Tearfully, Sophie added. "But she's your sister, the Wilson heiress. With your family's donations and your father being board chairman, who'd challenge her bullying?" Neither noticed the journalist passing behind them. "Bullying?" The reporter leaned in, shark-like. "What bullying?" The situation suddenly escalated. The largest conference room at the school was packed with people: the principal, vice principals, dean of students, homeroom teacher, reporters from various newspapers. Both the Wilson and Taylor families' parents had arrived. Mr. and Mrs. Taylor stood protectively beside Sophie, who kept wiping her tear-streaked face in the corner, radiating indignation. The Wilsons had initially refused to come when hearing Emma caused trouble, until learning the newly appointed superintendent of education was present. Riverbend High, being the city's top school, made it prime territory for political posturing. Mr. Wilson immediately approached the superintendent with practiced charm upon entering. "Commissioner Lee, such a trivial matter hardly warrants your attention. Just kids squabbling." "Mr. Wilson," the superintendent cut in sternly, "bullying is never trivial. Emma may be your daughter, but every student here deserves equal protection. I won't tolerate poison saplings in my orchard." The rebuke forced Mr. Wilson into retreat. "Of course, we'll cooperate fully with the investigation," he said, exchanging a loaded glance with Mrs. Wilson. "I understood, if the bullying charges stuck, they'd disown their inconvenient foster daughter without hesitation." As for Ethan, he stood whispering comforts to the sniffling Sophie, occasionally shooting me icy looks from under those dark lashes. The principal cleared his throat. "Miss Taylor, please recount what happened." Sophie repeated her tearful tale about stolen opportunities and betrayal. Reporters leaned forward hungrily. One jumped in. "Our preliminary research shows Emma and Sophie grew up together at Sunshine Orphanage. After Emma got adopted by the Wilsons while Sophie went to a modest household. Did wealth make you think you could steal your former sister's chances?" Camera's word. Every journalist here smelled blood, a perfect storm of class warfare and human drama. In our increasingly stratified society, rich kids trampling the disadvantaged made prime outrage fodder. The silence broke with my sudden chuckle. "Funny," I said. "I thought journalists were supposed to verify facts before running stories. Or does chasing clicks excuse shoddy reporting nowadays?" The accusing reporter flushed crimson as I stood. "You've only heard Sophie's version. Let me share mine. My gaze locked on the girl I'd once called sister, the girl who'd strangled me with jealousy in our past life. Now scheming to climb over my corpse again. Sophie resents that we started equal. Yet I ended up privileged. She thinks herself prettier, smarter. Why should I have more? That envy birthed this fiction. Ethan immediately interjected. That's not. He wanted to defend Sophie's noble choice of remaining with her humble adoptive parents. But the script had changed. This time, I held the pen. So, she couldn't possibly be materialistic. My argument was clearly twisting the truth. But before he could finish, the principal's office door burst open. Standing outside was a slender figure with short hair, silent as an unnoticed weed. Our homeroom teacher recognized her. Lily? What are you doing here? In my previous life, Lily would have already committed suicide by now. But this time, she survived. Walking in steadily, Lily came to stand beside me. I'm here to testify, she said quietly. Her sudden entrance left the journalists momentarily stunned. Someone asked, Miss, are you here to testify about Emma bullying Sophie? Given Lily's plain clothes, she clearly wasn't from wealthy circles at first glance. She and Sophie seemed cut from the same cloth. Lily glanced at the questioner and shook her head. I'm here to testify for Emma. I stared at Lily in surprise. Truthfully, I'd prepared extensively for today's confrontation. But Lily wasn't part of my planned witnesses. We weren't particularly close anyway. After I'd given her money last time, she'd researched standard tutoring rates, calculated payment for our daily 1-hour math sessions, and refunded every extra cent. She arrived precisely at 3 p.m. each day, delivered her lesson with machine-like efficiency, and left exactly at 4 p.m. like some pre-programmed AI. In our past life, Lily had jumped from the rooftop a month before college entrance exams. All her hopes had been pinned on getting into a top university to fund her grandmother's medical treatment. Then her drunken father, after losing at gambling, had beaten her so severely he shattered her writing hand. What exactly happened that final night remained unknown. But when they found Lily's broken body, this time, I'd hired neighborhood troublemakers to hospitalize Lily's father before exams. To meticulously plan this, I'd skipped evening study session for the first time only to get caught by Lily herself during attendance check. Why were you absent? She'd asked, her expression unreadable. I scrambled for excuses, unable to explain I'd been arranging her father's beating. At that exact moment, the school office called Lily away. 5 minutes later she returned, calmly setting down the attendance sheet. I'll overlook it this time, she'd said. Don't skip again. Now, watching Lily produce 30-odd signed studio reservation forms, I suddenly realized she might have known all along. Sophie turned pale instantly as everyone saw the damning evidence out of 30 dance rehearsals. Sophie's name only appeared twice. Lily waited until all eyes were on the documents before speaking deliberately. These official records show, Sophie Taylor claimed that Emma mocked her for being unable to afford performance costumes, which was why she wasn't allowed on stage. But when I told Emma I couldn't afford costumes and wanted to quit, she encouraged me to keep rehearsing. The next day, we discovered Emma had purchased costumes for everyone. Sophie also insisted Emma bullied her because her father worked as a school custodian and her mother as a cleaner. Yet my own father lacked steady employment, with our family surviving on grandma's welfare checks. Lily turned to me, if you bully the poor, why not target me? Her raw vulnerability stunned the room. In the silence, I sighed and played a video on speakerphone. The footage clearly showed Sophie missing beats, forgetting choreography, and struggling to keep up, the weakest performer by far. Truthfully, she'd skipped rehearsals to stargaze with Ethan. Sophie never cared about this performance until I cut her from the roster. Her sob story to Ethan backfired spectacularly when I produced irrefutable evidence. Normally I wouldn't remove a participant unilaterally, but this showcase offered specialized admission bonuses. Two teammates needed those academic credits for college applications. Sacrificing their futures for Sophie's vanity wasn't an option. Public opinion shifted overnight. Classmates began avoiding Sophie, whispering, "Don't get too close, she'll claim your classist over any disagreement." Rationally, her family wasn't destitute. Many scholarship students with actual financial struggles never played victim like this. Some people just blame fate instead of effort. Surprisingly, Sophie remained quiet through final exams until graduation. Lily warned, "She's plotting revenge." I shrugged. Patience works both ways. I sensed Sophie's machinations when Ethan's hostility escalated. Previously, he'd harass me discreetly. Now he slammed a bowl full of chicken soup onto the dinner table, splashing scalding broth across my face. The housekeeper rushed over with ice packs while Mrs. Wilson sipped her soup. Eyes down. "Mr. Wilson merely muttered, 'Mind your manners, Ethan,' before resuming his meal. The Wilson family saw me as a lucky charm adopted on their fortune teller's advice, a human ficus tree. Last lifetime, Sophie tried bonding with them. Futile effort. These people once forgot Ethan at a nanny's for 3 weeks during business trips. Emotional appeals don't work in mansions, only leverage matters. I set down my ice pack. "Dad. Mom. I scored 718 on the college entrance exam, science valedictorian." 3 pairs of eyes snapped toward me. I calmly ate a broccoli floret before adding, "The school wants you interviewed about parenting techniques. Are you available?" In my previous life, I'd aced exams while working part-time. This time, with fewer obstacles, my grades skyrocketed. Mr. and Mrs. Wilson exchanged stunned glances across the dinner table. Before this, they had never paid attention to college entrance exams. Ethan had already applied to schools in Australia long ago. He'd be sent abroad immediately after high school graduation without needing to take the tests. As for me, the adopted daughter, they left me to fate. Couldn't be bothered. No one expected I'd score so phenomenally. I want to apply to Harvard Business School's undergraduate program. I looked at Mr. Wilson, intern at Dad's corporate investment division freshman year. Mr. Wilson paused 2 seconds before smiling. "Such ambition is commendable. Congratulations. Emma, Mrs. Jenkins. Fetch the Bordeaux from my trunk. Emma must be 18 now? Let's celebrate properly tonight." Ignoring Ethan's thunderous glare, I clinked glasses with the Wilsons, graciously thanking them for their upbringing. I'd gambled right. The Wilsons didn't care about some ordinary adopted girl. But the valedictorian? That meant family prestige, educational triumph, future potential. They opened multiple vintage wines, scheduled press interviews, and left tipsy with satisfaction. Only Ethan and I remained under the chandelier's fractured light. He'd inherited Mrs. Wilson's aristocratic features, aquiline nose, brooding brows, every inch the rebellious air. Now those beautiful eyes frosted over. "Emma," he sneered, "you think this charade makes you family?" I rose, meticulously pushing in my chair before whispering near his ear, "Check the scoreboard. Ethan. Your parents are begging to claim me." When retrieving transcripts at school, I found Sophie waiting in shadowed corridors. Rage, envy, and confusion twisted her face. She'd seen the interview footage. In the video, Mrs. Wilson's arm draped my shoulders while Mr. Wilson charmed reporters. Anchors praised him as both tycoon and parenting guru. Our perfect family portrait could have been ripped from a luxury catalog, everything Sophie never achieved in her previous life. "What tricks did you use?" she hissed. I shrugged. "Study hard. Aim high. Believe that?" Her scoff followed me down the hall. "Even if you steal their love, Ethan's mine. Perfect." The classic drama queen script, star-crossed lovers defying family and world. I almost wished her luck. 10 minutes later, the male lead appeared with entourage, cornering me in deserted corridors. Teachers and students had left. Screams would echo uselessly. I glanced up. Gut sinking, surveillance cameras disabled. Premeditated. Ethan stepped forward. Voice velvet menace. Time to wake from your Cinderella delusion. Emma. His lackeys lunged, yanking my hair to smash my skull against concrete. The impact rang through bone as plaster dust snowed around us. My vision swam with stars from the pain, yet I summoned unexpected strength to kick the lackey square in the groin. A blood-curdling scream pierced the air as he crumpled to the floor. Features contorted in agony. Ethan's face darkened. As he motioned for other cronies to advance, I yanked the wine bottle from my backpack, a gift from Mr. Wilson for tonight's supposed class gathering. The crimson explosion against the brick wall sent glass shards dancing through stale corridor air. I brandished the jagged bottleneck at the circle of boys. My voice raw. Come on then. Blood from my nose painted crimson trails over trembling lips. Plastered hair collecting concrete dust like some deranged crown. The momentary hesitation in their advance told me everything. Wiping blood across my cheek. I laughed. Hypocrite? That's rich coming from you, Ethan. Let's see this hypocrite actually donated to charity and saved lives. What's your noble cause? Rescuing your precious damsel in distress? Sophie flinched at the far end of the hallway. Though there was no point hiding. She'd never miss front row seats to my humiliation. Here's the deal. I pressed the glass shard against my own palm. Crimson droplets joining the mess on my uniform. You brought an army today. Better make sure I don't walk out of here. Because if I do, the smile died on my lips. I'll drag you straight to hell with me. Ethan's pallor matched the institutional walls. We both knew the unspoken rules the Wilson family's influence kept teachers willfully blind to hallway shakedowns. But actual murder? That crossed lines even his father's money couldn't erase. You're not worth the trouble. He finally spat. Laughter bubbled up. Harsh and unhinged. This is nothing. Want to see real scheming? I stepped closer. Glass still raised. Those journalists investigating the bullying scandal? I invited them. Twin shockwaves hit Ethan and Sophie's faces. Think it was coincidence reporters appeared right after Sophie's little performance? I tapped my temple. Anonymous letters to every major paper about systemic bullying at Jiangqing High. Of course they came sniffing for headlines. Ethan's knuckles whitened. Knew Sophie would run crying to you when I cut her from the dance showcase. Perfect timing her fake tears. They're hidden cameras. I watched comprehension dawn with vicious satisfaction. Even after clearing my name. You really think they'll stop digging? How long until they uncover your little gang's extracurriculars? The color drained completely from Ethan's face now. Behind him, the posse shifted uneasily. The education superintendent made his stance clear last assembly. I pressed my advantage. One verified bullying report and even Daddy Wilson can't save you. That's what real strategy looks like. Ethan. Panicked whispers erupted among his followers. What if they're still here? This could ruin our futures. The herd mentality fractured before my eyes, privileged brats suddenly realizing consequences existed beyond detention slips. I'd orchestrated this entire showdown. The phantom investigation into my non-existent crimes served as warning flares if they came for the Wilson family's pseudo-daughter. Imagine what awaited ordinary students caught in Ethan's orbit. A calculated gamble, using their own corruption as mirror and hammer. The jagged glass trembled in my grip. Adrenaline ebbing to reveal the true cost of this Pyrrhic victory. But as Ethan finally ordered retreat, Sophie scrambling after him like chastened puppy, I knew the message landed. They'd think twice before touching anyone again. So, dear brother, please take good care of me. Support me in my work at Wilson Group. I leaned close to Ethan, smiling sweetly. Or I'll drag the entire Wilson family down with me. My smile vanished as I tapped the broken bottle against Ethan's neck before walking away. No one stopped me. Only Sophie's tearful voice followed Ethan. How could you let her leave like this? Ethan's icy voice answered, get out. Ethan suddenly became compliant. He'd never let me attend any Wilson family events before. But when invited to a charity gala, he told Mrs. Wilson, I'll take my sister. Mom. Have the stylist prepare an evening gown for Emma. Through the phone, I heard Sophie protesting, shouldn't your date be me? Ethan snapped, I'm already funding your study abroad in Australia. What more do you want? Sophie had failed spectacularly in her exams. Like in her previous life, she'd focused on currying favor with the Wilsons instead of studying. Now trapped in academic hell without cheat codes. Her grades worsened. Her only lifeline was clinging to Ethan. But I could see his growing irritation. What initially attracted Ethan was Sophie's act of being a principled scholarship student rejecting luxury gifts. But maintaining that facade proved impossible. The girl who once pretended to disdain wealth now begged tearfully for his support. When summer ended, they left for Australia together. Though Ethan never officially claimed Sophie as his girlfriend, her desperate parents hired paparazzi to snap photos of them dining. The tabloid headline screamed frowny face Wilson Group heir's childhood sweetheart revealed. Mr. Wilson threw his phone across the room. Cheap tactics. They're trying to pawn off their daughter before graduation? He berated Ethan later, marry someone we approve of. Date whoever you want casually. But not this trash. Ethan silently endured the tirade. His gaze repeatedly flickering to where I sat reviewing financial reports. The Taylors had tried similar tricks in my past life, nearly drugging me to secure their position. The elder Wilsons had opposed such matches too, though they died before Ethan's eventual marriage. Forbidden from seeing Sophie during break, Ethan stayed home showering me with gifts, diamond earrings for my birthday, waiting outside clubs till 3 a.m. to drive me home. Lily sipped her mocktail, watching Ethan chain smoke by his Lamborghini. When she tried to speak, I stopped her. I know what you'll say. Don't worry. Later in the passenger seat, Ethan handed me a paper bag containing hangover soup and my favorite red velvet cake. I laughed. This isn't necessary, Ethan. He accelerated without responding. Back home, I dumped both offerings in the trash. Ethan stood silently beside me, watching until the end without speaking. I retreated to my room, unwilling to engage. Across town at MIT, Lily had developed groundbreaking workforce optimization algorithms through her computer science research. This presented our golden opportunity to build something independent. After nearly 3 years interning at Wilson Enterprises' Strategic Investments Division, I'd gained enough influence to allocate $2 million in seed funding. Our partnership took shape, her technical genius paired with my business acumen. Between endless investor meetings and product development sprints, Ethan's brooding presence faded to background noise. I never anticipated Sophie witnessing him drive me home. Desperate after weeks of his avoidance, she'd been staking out the gated community when our car arrived. That single image must have triggered her deepest trauma memories of their past life, where he'd coldly divorced her only to later drape a wedding veil over my shoulders with tender hands. Monday morning found me leaving a client's skyscraper with signed contracts when a gaunt figure materialized in the stairwell. Sophie's once porcelain complexion now stretched taut over hollow cheeks, crimson veins mapping her sleepless eyes. Even diminished, her doll-like beauty persisted, the same ethereal charm that made her childhood orphanage's most coveted adoptee. Too picky with families, she'd lingered until the Wilsons chose me instead. Her stilettos clicked as she closed the distance, towering over my practical flats. I'm carrying Ethan's child, she declared, searching my face. Congratulations. I shrugged. Though he'll seem unwise in your condition. Her composure shattered. What witchcraft are you using, Emma? I studied every trick you used last lifetime to win him. Followed them perfectly. Why does he pull away? Her manicured hands trembled. He should despise you. Leave you penniless. What secret moves remain? I checked my watch. Excuse me. I've another pitch meeting. Her tearful embrace came without warning. Then gravity took us, a tangle of limbs cracking against marble steps. My skull collided with iron railings as we landed in a heap. Through ringing ears, I heard Sophie's performance crescendo. Ethan. Our baby, she pushed me. Said the air would dilute her inheritance. Darkness swirled as Ethan's polished Oxfords appeared. Blood bloomed beneath Sophie's designer dress like some grotesque rose. His voice cut through the pain fog. Call 911. Now. But as he crouched between us, I couldn't tell whose trembling hand he reached for first. He picked me up. Sophie's eyes widened in shock. She stared at Ethan with disbelief, her voice trembling. Ethan. Ethan replied coldly. Sophie. You disgust me. Sophie began shaking violently. This was her recurring nightmare. In our previous life, Ethan had frequently told her, Sophie, you disgust me. This lifetime had different choices and different paths. Yet why did it lead to the same ending? Sophie screamed hysterically. Why? I made the right choices. Why does every path lead here? Her voice faded as dizziness overwhelmed me. The world dissolved into darkness. The antiseptic smell of hospital sheets greeted me as I opened my eyes. Ethan sat by my bed, murmuring, Sophie asked me to come, probably planned to frame you. But I arrived early and overheard everything. Emma. Just focus on recovering. Also, that child Sophie mentioned, she drugged my juice. My leg and head throbbed. But I interrupted sharply. Are you explaining yourself to me? Ethan froze. I tugged the blanket higher. If our parents demand answers, explain to them. This has nothing to do with me. After prolonged silence, he whispered, I want to break up with her. The air turned uncomfortably still. I smiled. Even less relevant to me. Ethan looked up desperately. Emma. Don't you understand what I'm saying? I held his gaze as hope kindled in his eyes. When it burned brightest, I laughed. Of course I do. Ethan. You're the world's greatest expert in self-sabotage. The light died in his eyes. Minutes passed before he spoke hoarsely. I know I've made mistakes. I'll spend my whole life making amends. When you first joined the Wilson family, I resented you. But gradually, I became obsessed. When you threatened to drag our family down in the school hallway, I wasn't angry. I saw your strength, your courage, your blazing vitality, everything I admire. His head bowed as he confessed. Lately I keep dreaming, we're getting married. I hold your hand, promising everything I have will be yours. At the beginning, Emma and I could have been happy. I smiled faintly. Well, Ethan, we could have been happy. Here's the deal, go drink all the toilet water and I'll consider it. Deal? Ethan left. He said he understood I couldn't forgive him immediately but was willing to wait. After Ethan exited the hospital room, Lily, who'd been waiting outside, came to my bedside. I glanced at her, heard everything? Every word. What do you want to say to me now? I want to know if that client this morning has over 50% purchase intent and when we can finalize the contract. You heartless wench. Shouldn't you at least ask when I'm getting discharged first? Already asked the doctor at the door. He said the day after tomorrow. I've adjusted our workflow accordingly. Next roadshow's tentatively scheduled for 3 days from now. Not letting me rest longer? Unnecessary. I know what matters most to you. Such an impeccable business partner. I nodded approvingly. With this formidable ally, financial success was inevitable. After the roadshow, I carved out a day to visit Sophie at the hospital. Having lost her baby, she lay listlessly in bed, her face gaunt. Ethan had already broken up with her. Throughout her hospitalization, the Taylor family never visited. The only unexpected visitors came from the orphanage, the director and several fellow orphans. Emma helped cover our travel expenses. She's been donating to us for years. The director explained. Because of her, Little Dory and Lily's conditions have improved dramatically. Sophie froze. Most orphans never found adoptive families. They'd been abandoned for disabilities, cognitive impairments, or terminal illnesses. Compared to them, Sophie and I had been extraordinarily fortunate. The director used to tell us we were all siblings in one big family. Yet after leaving the orphanage, Sophie never looked back. Ironically, in my previous life I'd volunteered there regularly. After joining the Wilson family this lifetime, I donated substantial sums to fund medical treatments for disabled children. Watching these children excitedly discuss Big Sister Emma, Sophie suddenly burst into tears. She cried so long that she didn't notice me entering after the orphanage group left. I waited calmly until her sobs subsided, finally covering her face. Sophie whispered hoarsely, "You must hate me." Before I could answer, she rushed on, "I hate you too. I just wanted a better life." "What's wrong with that?" I considered carefully. "Nothing's wrong. You just chose the wrong methods." Sophie glared through red-rimmed eyes. "Because I'm not as kind? Not as pure? Not as charitable?" I shook my head. "No. Your fatal mistake, in both lifetimes, was trying to steal others' cake. Why should anyone let you take their cake? Even if you succeeded, how could you know it wasn't poisoned? The real solution is baking your own." "What gives you the right to lecture me?" Sophie shrieked. "Didn't you want the Wilson fortune too?" "I didn't," I replied evenly. The $200K I took from Wilson Corp was repaid with interest after Lily's and my company turned profitable. As for the jewelry Mrs. Wilson gave me, all valuable pieces are cataloged in a safe deposit box. I want to completely sever ties with the Wilson family in the future. The reason is simple. The Wilsons built their fortune through real estate. Over the past 30 years of land grabs and construction projects, there have been accidents, deaths, and countless shady dealings. Mr. Wilson has the means to suppress these issues now. But that can't last forever. Blood money always brings consequences. When the house of cards collapses, everyone connected to Wilson Enterprises will face prison time. Sophie couldn't comprehend this. She simply stared at me blankly. After a long silence, she whispered, "2 lifetimes. And I've lost to you both times." I shook my head gently before leaning closer. This was why I'd come, to say what needed saying. "Soph, you've spent both lifetimes snapping at my heels like I'm your greatest enemy. But let me ask you, who truly destroyed you in both these lives? Was it really me?" It was like lightning struck her. Sophie trembled violently before dissolving into loud, ugly sobs. I turned and walked away without looking back. Time flew. On the day Lily and I took our company public, the news broke. Outside Wilson Tower, Sophie had stabbed Ethan with a knife. Lily stood beside me as we watched the report. The screen showed Sophie being arrested while Ethan fought for his life in surgery. Lily glanced at the screen before looking away. I teased her. "Aren't you going to ask if I'm worried about Ethan?" "You're not," she replied flatly. "But he loved me in the end. Didn't he?" "Emma," Lily said with zero expression, "I'd rather you take loan shark money than accept love from garbage. Also, let me review your press conference speech again." I counted 6 problematic sentence breaks. "Yes, ma'am." At the world's largest industry summit, the host began the rousing opening remarks under dazzling lights. Lily and I, the youngest and most watched female entrepreneurs, prepared to take the stage. Countless camera flashes waited to immortalize us. Lily stood tall in pristine white tailoring, that quiet weed from our school days now a snow-crowned pine. My black silk gown shimmered with hidden pearls, darkness finally yielding to starlight. "Lily, are you nervous?" I asked, then immediately rolled my eyes. "Never mind. AI doesn't get nervous." Stupid question. Silence. Then warm fingers closed around mine. "Emma, don't be nervous. Lily said, transferring steady calm through our joined hands. The curtain rose. Giant LED screens blazed with our names. Arm in arm. We walked toward tsunami waves of applause. Our company kept growing. Ethan survived his injuries, good. Someone needed to stay alive and pay for the Wilson family's sins. Sophie went to prison. She writes me letters about wanting to volunteer at orphanages if released. About spending her remaining years atoning. The letters always end with sis. I file them away. Emotions tangled. Later, when Lily finds the stack, she simply says, "Mercy looks good on you." We never speak of it again. A group of children from the orphanage gathered around me. "Emma, what are you looking at?" one asked. I shook my head. Nothing. Today, Lily and I had come to the orphanage together to meet with the director. We planned to establish a charity fund through our company to help both children who weren't adopted and those who faced difficulties after being adopted. The sun was blazing in a cloudless sky as we walked through the courtyard, finally moving toward the future we'd worked so hard to build.